Let's talk about a topic that is always on our minds, money. I'm pretty sure that throughout the day, you think about money at least 10 times, right? You're either thinking about how to make money, how to save money, how to invest money, maybe how to get out of debt. Money is always on our minds. And much like any other topic in our lives, our natal chart has the answers to our financial questions, believe it or not. So our natal charts are the blueprint to our lives. It tells us about our relationships, our personalities, where we've been, where we're headed. Our natal chart can tell us everything. And as it relates to this video, I'm going to discuss everything in the natal chart that you need to know to find out about your financial life, all right? Not just how you are predisposed to getting money, making money, or investing money, but also when you should be making certain decisions related to money, all right? This video is the video that you are going to watch if you have any questions related to money in your life, all right? So stick around. You definitely don't want to miss this. What's up, everybody? As always, I hope that this video finds you well and in excellent spirits. If this is our first time meeting, welcome. My name is Mel. I'm a professional astrologer and I'm the founder of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. So today's video is all about money in the natal chart, okay? And so at the time of filming this video, we are currently in the midst of the Lionsgate portal. And if you have no idea what that is, check out this video right here that I did last week. It'll explain everything to you. But long story short, the Lionsgate portal is a really auspicious time. It's a time where we focus on our spiritual ascension and where we can really manifest the hell out of the things that we want in life. So what better time than now to talk about money, right? Because everyone's always trying to manifest more money. So like I said in my intro, the natal chart can tell you a lot about your financial situation. But keep in mind, the natal chart is not just going to tell you how to make more money. That's really basic, right? The natal chart is going to tell you your complete financial situation, whether it is how to make money, how you make money on a regular basis and where it comes from, your debt and how you handle debt and other people's money, how you take risks, how you gamble, or maybe how you invest. And also, if you are someone who is an entrepreneur, someone who owns your own business, how can you make money from there? Literally, your natal chart will tell you all of this. And in this video, I'm going to cover all of that as well. But you also may be wondering, why the natal chart? Why would I look at my natal chart to find out all of these things when I can look elsewhere, right? Like the internet is full of information on this course or this investment or this savings plan, right? Or this credit repair situation. Why would you look at your natal chart? Well, you would look at your natal chart because when you align yourself with the flow of nature, everything sort of fits together like a puzzle. Think of it as just swimming downstream, right? You are in a lazy river and you are swimming downstream. That's what it's like when you follow your particular astrological alignments. I'm definitely someone who is of the theory that why would I fight against nature when I can just work with it? You know, your natal chart, like I said, is the blueprint to your life. It tells you everything about yourself. So if my natal chart can tell me the best way to make money, best way and when to invest money, how I should handle my debt, and if I'm an entrepreneur, how and when I should start my business, why wouldn't I listen to that? It's kind of like a no-brainer. So again, the purpose of this video is to show you where in your natal chart all of this information can be found so that you can start aligning with your own design, basically your own astrological design, and start having a better financial situation in your life, all right? So without further ado, let's get into the details. But first and foremost, we've got to talk about some basics. So first things first, we've got to cover the basics. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is break out your natal chart. And if you have no idea where to get your natal chart, go to a site like astro.com or astro-seek.com, and you're going to want to put in your birth date, your birth location, and your precise birth time. Keyword is precise, all right? As close as you can get to your exact birth time as possible would be optimal, because it's your birth time that actually helps set up your entire natal chart. And if you want to know more about that, check out this video here where I explain it all in detail. All right. But when we look at our natal chart, these are the three components that we're going to want to pay attention to when it comes to answering the money questions in our lives. So the first component is the planets. The second component is the houses, and the third component is the planetary rulers, okay? So the planets are the 10 planets in the solar system, wherever they're placed in your natal chart. And you'll know what they are by the different symbolizing glyphs that each planet has, all right? That's pretty elementary. The next thing is the houses. So the houses are those pizza slice looking pieces that comprise your whole entire natal chart. What's important to know about the houses is that each house has a sign. Every sign is designated by a particular house in your chart, okay? Now the third component, planetary rulerships, takes what I just said a step further. So every house has a designated sign. So for instance, if you are a Gemini rising, Gemini would be your first house. Taking it a step further, every sign has a planetary ruler, meaning that every sign is governed by or ruled by a particular planet. So in this instance, Gemini as your first house is ruled by the planet Mercury, okay? So here's a listing of all of the planetary rulerships. And if you want a PDF copy of all of the planetary rulerships, the link to that will be in the description box below. But you're gonna wanna commit it to memory because the planetary rulerships are going to be necessary in order to answer those money questions, all right? So let's move on to the next thing. When it comes to the topic of money generally, there are two planets that will always tell you about money in your natal chart, regardless of where they're placed or what they're doing. And those two planets are Venus and Pluto. These are known as the natural money planets. So Venus covers the topic of love, or covers the topics of love and money. So of course, if we're going to answer any money questions in our lives, we always have to look to Venus, okay? But taking it a step further, Venus in your natal chart represents your money or money that's coming into you. Think about the topic of Venus or the energy of Venus generally. Venus is all about attraction, right? And so when we're talking about money, especially money coming in, Venus represents how we attract money, basically how we make money. Now, a lot of people don't necessarily equate Pluto to money because Pluto has a lot to do with death, doom, destruction, transformation, a lot of heavy shit, right? But Pluto also has a magnetism and a very alluring and magnetic energy to it. And in our natal charts, Pluto represents other people's money or money going out. So when it comes to the two natural money planets in our natal chart, you're going to want to look at Venus, which represents your money and money coming in, and Pluto, which represents other people's money and money going out. So most people tend to sort of just say, that's it. If you want to know about money in your natal chart, look to Venus. Most people usually just talk about Venus, or they'll mention Pluto, right? But it goes a lot deeper than that because it's more than just about making money and borrowing money. There's other things that we do with money. And of course, your natal chart represents that all. So let's talk about that. So apart from the two natural money planets, everyone has 4 money planets in their chart, okay? So those money planets are your income planet, your debt planet, your risk planet, and your entrepreneur planet, all right? So suffice it to say, most people typically focus on their income planet. As a matter of fact, I think people mostly focus on what Venus is doing in their chart to figure out their money situation, okay? But again, there's 4 planets that you need to look at that'll give you your entire comprehensive financial situation. Now, it's important to note that it's not just about the placement of those planets in your natal chart. That sort of gives you the information about what you're already predisposed to doing. For instance, if your income planet is Venus and Venus is in Taurus, you are someone who is good with money. You have a financial mind naturally, right? But apart from just looking at the placements in your natal chart, you need to look at what those planets are doing currently. And that is what is known as transits. So you may have Venus and Taurus in your natal chart, but maybe currently Venus is in Leo As a matter of fact, at the time of them filming this video, Venus is in Leo. And maybe Venus is in Leo and it's squaring Saturn in your 8th house, right? All of that stuff is just going to give you more information, not just what you're predisposed to, but what you should be doing now in terms of your money that will make you successful, that will bring you money, that'll pay down debt, all of that stuff, okay? And not even just transits. You're going to want to look at things like retrogrades. You're going to want to look at things like eclipses. Knowing this information is not only just going to tell you what's going on right now, but it'll also tell you what you should be doing now and maybe what you shouldn't be doing right now, okay? If your income planet, for instance, is badly aspected, meaning that it's in a sign that's not favorable to that planet, or it's in a sign that's just got some messed up energy, that'll be the time that you might not want to make major financial decisions. Maybe you've got an eclipse right on your income planet at some point during the year. That's the time that you may want to hold off on making an investment or hold off on getting a new job, right? Hopefully these examples are letting you know that it's not just about your natal placements, but it's about the transits. So you can figure out like what you're predisposed to doing when it comes to money and what you should be doing right now. All right. So without further ado, let's get into these 4 money planets and what they mean for you. So first up is your income planet. And you're going to figure out your income planet by looking at the 2nd house in your natal chart. Look at the sign of that 2nd house and figure out what the planetary ruler of that 2nd house is. That'll let you know what your income planet is. So to use my example from before, let's say you are Gemini rising. That would mean that your 2nd house is Cancer. The planetary ruler of Cancer is the moon. So for you, your planet, your income planet would be the moon. So you're going to want to look at where the moon is in your natal chart, what it's doing, because that will tell you what you're already predisposed to when it comes to income. And you're also going to want to track the transit of the moon. That's going to let you know when to make certain income decisions, okay? So when we're talking about income, we're sort of talking about money as most people think about it, right? It's the money that you get from work. It's your regular above board income. And what I mean by above board is that the money that you make legally, okay? It might sound strange that I'm mentioning that, but this will make sense later on. So it represents money that you make regularly and above board, typically a job, right? Whatever you do on a daily basis for money, the career that you're working in, all of that income represents or is governed by your income planet. So some of the other things that are represented by your income planet are your earning potential, your credit score, collateral, and your net worth when it's positive, okay? And that's also gonna make more sense later on in the video. But essentially, your income planet is literally that, your income, okay? So again, you're gonna wanna look at where it is in your natal chart, what it's doing, and tracking the transits of it is gonna let you know when to make certain decisions related to your income. Next up is your debt planet, and that name is pretty self-explanatory as well. Your debt planet represents debt, right? And money that belongs to other people. Now, this is something that's extremely important because at some point in time, we all have debt or we all carry debt. And you can't talk about your financial situation without including debt, money you owe, money that belongs to other people in the story. Again, your natal chart is going to give you a comprehensive look at your financial situation, which encompasses debt, all right? So to figure out your debt planet, you're going to want to look at your 8th house. See the sign that governs your 8th house, and then figure out the planetary ruler of that sign, all right? So to go back to the example that we were looking at before, that I explained before, let's say you are a Gemini rising. That means that Gemini is your 1st house. That would mean that Capricorn is your 8th house. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So your debt planet would be Saturn. So you want to look at where Saturn is in your natal chart. You may also want to track the transit of Saturn in order to figure out when to pay off debt or even when to accumulate debt. You know, you get what I mean, right? Okay. So when it comes to what your debt planet represents, again, it represents other people's money and represents debt. So things like mortgages, student loans, private loans that you have to pay to other people, basically anything that you have to pay back would be represented by your debt planet. Now, it also represents things like taxes, because clearly taxes belong to the government. Well, technically, right? But it's money that we owe, right? So that would fall under your debt planet. Also, things like annuities, insurance policies, all of that stuff that belongs to other people would encompass your debt planet. Now, remember I said that your income planet has a lot to do or represents your above board money, the money that you make illegally. Your debt planet would represent money that you make illegally. So any ill-gotten gains, any money you've stolen, anything like that would be covered by your debt planet. And you may want to take a look at that, right? Some people tend to thrive off of doing some shady shit, right? I bet you if you look at their natal chart, their debt planet may be positively aspected or maybe well placed, okay? So word to the wise, you may want to look at that too. But again, you're going to want to look at all of this information to figure out how to handle debt, okay? And successfully handling debt is really just you taking a look at what it's doing in your natal chart, or maybe what you're doing now, and being able to successfully handle that energy. So if you want to be debt free, your natal chart can tell you exactly what to do, or your transits can tell you when is the best time to pay off your debt, all right? But essentially, that is what your debt planet is. So let's move on to the next one. All right, so next up is going to be your risk planet. And when it comes to this, a lot of people typically don't tend to pay attention to this unless you're really into investments and stuff like that. I guess if you're into investments and astrology. But when it comes to money, money isn't just the money that you make from your job. And if I'm the first person to tell you this, yeah, wake up. It's not just about money that you make from your job. You've got to take some risks with your money. You've got to do some investments, and that's everything that your risk planet entails. So to figure out what your risk planet is, you're going to want to look at your 5th house. And you're going to want to look at the sign associated with your 5th house and figure out what the planetary ruler of that sign is. That will let you know what your risk planet is. So to go back to the example that we were using before, you've got Gemini rising. That means that, let's see, let me do the calculations in my head. If your 1st house is Gemini, that means that your 7th house is Sagittarius, your 6th house is Scorpio, your 5th house would be Libra. So if you are a Gemini rising, your 5th house is Libra. The planetary ruler of Libra is Venus. So when it comes to taking risks, you're going to want to look at where Venus is placed in your natal chart and what the Venus transits are, what Venus is currently doing in the sky, okay? So when it comes to your risk planet, it represents everything that you take a risk on. So that would be stocks, that would be investments, anything having to do with the stock market would be represented by your risk planet. But also your risk planet has a lot to do with gambling, because the 5th house covers gambling. So when it comes to going to the casino, playing poker, maybe you are, buying a lottery ticket or a sweepstakes or a giveaway, basically any money that you could win is covered by your risk planet, okay? So this is really interesting to me because number one, the placement of your risk planet in your natal chart is going to tell you how you deal with risk generally. Like I am someone who I am not a casino person at all. I think I've been to the casino a couple of times, but I want to say that I've maybe bet like $5 over the course of all the times I went to the casino. Meanwhile, I know people who be in the casino every weekend and they win money, right? Some people are more risk averse than others. And the placement of your risk planet is going to tell you how you deal with risk generally. But let's say you're someone like me that is risk averse, right? And is not really about gambling money, at least when it comes to casinos or even investments, let's say. You're going to want to look at the transits of your risk planet because that's going to tell you the optimal times to take a risk or to invest or to play lotto, right? I can almost guarantee, because astrology is life and astrology will tell you everything. When people hit the lotto, I want to say that their risk planet is well aspected or it's being activated in some sort of positive way. If you can track the transits of your risk planet, it allows you to take more calculated risks, which is ultimately beneficial for you because you don't just want to be risking money willy-nilly. You kind of want to do it with a strategy. And thankfully, nature gives you that strategy via your natal chart. All right, so let's keep it moving. All right. So the fourth and final of the 4 money planets is known as your entrepreneur planet. So most people probably may not use the information from this planet because maybe they're not entrepreneurs. However, if you are looking to become an entrepreneur at some point in the future, you're going to want to take a look at this planet because it'll not only show you how and what you're predisposed to doing when it comes to entrepreneurship, but by tracking the transits, you can figure out the best time to start that business or that side hustle. All right. So to find out your entrepreneur planet, you're going to want to look at your 11th house. Take a look at the sign of that 11th house and then figure out the planetary ruler of that sign. That will let you know what your entrepreneur planet is. So again, going back to our example, let's say that you are a Gemini rising. That would mean that your 11th house is Aries. The ruler of Aries is Mars. So when it comes to entrepreneurship, your entrepreneur planet is Mars, which is actually a really excellent entrepreneur planet. So when it comes to what your entrepreneur planet represents, I think the name also is pretty self-explanatory. It's all about entrepreneurship, okay? But it takes it a little step further. So entrepreneurship is a business or a company that you own yourself, okay? But not just that, it also covers side hustles. So let's say that you've got a regular job, but let's say like you make candles, right? Kind of like what I do. And you do different pop-up shops on the weekend or whatever. That information you could also find via your entrepreneur planet. So it covers like your full-blown business that you own and also any side hustles. Interestingly enough, the 11th house, the energy of the 11th house sort of piggybacks off the energy of the 10th house. The 10th house has everything to do with your career, your vocation, and your awards, what you're known for, like your reputation. When we're talking about your entrepreneur planet, it also covers money that you receive from awards. So let's say that you are at the top of your game in your given industry. You get an award and a check comes with it. That would be covered by your entrepreneur planet. Also, let's say you win a Nobel Peace Prize for your particular business, right? Or the work that you do. That would be covered by your entrepreneur planet as well. But I think what comes in handy mostly, or the most relevant thing that comes into focus when we're talking about our entrepreneur planet is things like grants. So it's money that is awarded to you that you don't have to pay back, especially as it relates to your business. So if you are a small business owner and you are looking to get grants, you're going to want to take a good look at not only where your entrepreneur planet is placed in your chart, but also what the planet is doing right now. You're going to want to track the transits because that's going to let you know when to apply for grants. Okay. So again, I feel like most people don't pay attention to their entrepreneur planet because when it comes to entrepreneurship, I feel like people just sort of go online and try to get this course and do this thing. However, look at the information that your entrepreneur planet actually provides. That'll sort of streamline the process in terms of what courses you should take. It's also going to let you know what you're already predisposed for, what you're good at, what comes naturally to you. So even if you're at the point where, let's say you want to have a business in the future, but you have no idea what it is, look at your entrepreneur planet. It'll tell you a lot of the characteristics native to you that can help you have your own business. And again, tracking the transit of your entrepreneur planet is going to tell you when to make certain money moves when it comes to your own business. All right. Whew. Okay. We've kind of covered a lot so far. So comment below with a money bag emoji. So I know that you're still here and you're still watching. And as a bonus, if you know your rising sign, comment with your rising sign and I will respond with your 4 money planets. All right. All right. So now let's take a look at an actual natal chart to figure out what all of this means so I can give you guys a visual demonstration. So today I am going to be using the chart of one of my favorite artists, Rihanna. Okay. And if you have watched my How to Read Your Natal Chart series, and if you haven't, It's right here. The link will be in the description box below. This was also the natal chart I used to demonstrate how to read your natal chart. All right. So definitely check that out. But in any event, let's talk about these 4 money planets. Actually, let's talk about the natural money planets, the 4 money planets, and see how it all comes together. All right. So first and foremost, let me preface this by saying that Rihanna's birth time is not necessarily accurate. I did this chart based on the information I found on the internet, which might not reflect her actual birth time. But for the purposes of this particular demonstration, this will do just fine. But again, when we're talking about your particular natal chart, you're going to want to get that birth time as precise as possible. All right. So according to the information on the internet, Rihanna is an Aries rising. Okay. So essentially, if you take a look at her chart is set up in the natural way, meaning that Aries is the 1st house, Cancer is the 4th, Libra is the 7th, Capricorn is the 10th, and Pisces is the 12th. All right. So first, we're going to look at the 2 natural money planets, which are Venus and Pluto. So as you can see, her Venus is in the 1st house. It's also conjunct her moon and her rising, which is represented by the ASC, or the AS sign right there, right? Okay. This is interesting, right? Because Venus represents how you attract money. Being in the 1st house, the 1st house has a lot to do with self. Venus also has a lot to do with beauty. So it's no surprise to me that Rihanna attracts a lot of money via beauty products for the self, aka Fenty. Okay. Also, Venus also covers fashion, right? Savage Fenty, right? Being clothes. Again, it is no surprise that she makes money from beauty products and clothing. I mean, she also does the whole singing thing, right? But according to her natural money planet, it's the beauty products is where it's at. The fact that it is conjunct her moon, and the moon is a very feminine energy, the fact that she sells makeup and, bras, lingerie for women, you see where I'm going with this, right? So that's her natural money planet. Let's take a look at her second natural money planet, which is Pluto. She's got Pluto in the 8th house, okay? And her 8th house is Scorpio. Pluto is the planetary ruler of Scorpio. It's the modern planetary ruler of Scorpio. So the fact that she's got Pluto in Scorpio means that her Pluto is well placed. So when it comes to debt, surprisingly, debt is something that she probably favors. Taking on debt when it comes to money is actually probably a really good thing for her. And if you take a look at her Pluto, it is actually sextile to her midheaven in the 10th house. Your midheaven has everything to do with your career. So taking on debt when it comes to her career can actually be really beneficial to her, okay? Now, another interesting thing about Pluto being in her 8th house, remember I said that your debt planet has also a lot to do with money that you get illegally. Now, I'm not saying that Rihanna has done anything illegal when it comes to money. Please understand that that's not what I'm saying. However, fairly recently, she was served with a lawsuit when it comes to her Savage X Fenty brand. That whole membership thing was kind of seen as something that might be illegal because it's like it was charging people's cards without their knowledge, okay? And being that Pluto is a sign of underhandedness, it doesn't surprise me that if she were to make any money illegally, it would kind of be like that, right? Sort of taking money from people without them realizing. That's definitely evident by her Pluto in the 8th house, all right? And again, that's an alleged thing. I don't want to be out here talking about Rihanna like she's doing something illegal, but if she were to do something illegal, I wouldn't be surprised if that was it, okay? So those are the 2 natural money planets. Now let's take a look at her 4 money planets. So for the income planet, we have to look at the 2nd house, and her 2nd house here is Taurus. The ruler of Taurus is Venus. So her income planet is Venus. We already talked about Venus because that's her natural money planet as well. So again, Taurus has a lot to do with tangible things, makeup, clothing, ruled by Venus. Taurus is ruled by Venus. So again, Savage X Fenty, Fenty Beauty, this is in alignment with her natal chart completely. Not just that, I want you to see this little X in the circle. That is known as your part of fortune. Your part of fortune in your natal chart represents where you are most abundant, where you're most fortunate. It's in her second house. So again, why do you think she's making money hand over fist? Why do you think she's on the Forbes list of billionaires? It's because of her makeup and her clothing, not necessarily because of her singing. And that is evident by her natal chart. So that's her income planet. Let's take a look at her debt planet. Her debt planet actually ends up being her natural money planet, her other natural money planet, which is Pluto. So again, she's got Pluto in the 8th house. When it comes to debt, debt is probably something that's favorable to her. If she's able to handle it, like pay off her debts, favorably and on time, then debt is actually something that's going to be very beneficial to her. Okay. Now let's take a look at her risk planet. So her fifth house is empty, and that's perfectly fine. But her 5th house is Leo. The planetary ruler of Leo is the sun. So let's see what the sun is doing in her natal chart. Her sun is actually in Pisces in her 12th house. So when it comes to taking risks, when it comes to investment, Pisces has a lot to do with philanthropy. It has a lot to do with charity. So I would suggest to her that when it comes to taking a risk with your money, you may want to do it with respect to charitable organizations. You may want to donate your money, right? That's sort of like taking a risk in a sense, okay? Also, when it comes to taking risks generally, when it comes to investing money, when it comes to playing the lotto, she's going to want to track the transit of the sun. So when the sun is in a sign like Leo, its home sign, or in a sign like Aries, where it's exalted, during Aries season and Leo season, that's when she might want to be a little riskier with money because it would be more favorable to her. Maybe when the sun is conjunct Jupiter, or when it's trine or sextile to Jupiter, that may also be a time when she wants to invest money or go to the casino or whatever, right? Also, the eclipses are going to be extremely important to her. Depending on what particular eclipse is going on, that will let her know either to gamble or not to gamble, all right? Last but not least, let's look up her entrepreneur planet. So for that, we got to look at her 11th house. So her 11th house is Aquarius. The ruler of Aquarius is Uranus. What is her Uranus doing? Her Uranus is in the 10th house. This kind of brings it all together. So clearly she's got her own businesses, right? Uranus would rule online businesses. Okay? It's no coincidence that she makes money hand over fist with Fenty Beauty, Savage X Fenty. They are online businesses. And in the 10th house, in Capricorn, Capricorn represents big business. So big online business is the essence of her entrepreneurship. And that's exactly what she's doing. So you see, when you take a look at what these 4 money planets do in your natal chart, it starts to make sense. Things start to become clearer, right? Again, you don't only look at what that planet, what those 4 money planets are doing in your natal chart. You want to track those transits so that you know what they're doing at what particular time. So it's going to let you know what to do, what not to do, and when to do it, okay? But I hope that this particular example sort of made it clear for you as to how those 4 money planets can really work for you. All right, my love. So that concludes this video on money in your natal chart. I sincerely hope that you were able to get at least one important piece of information that you can use going forward. If you want to know more about the money in your natal chart and how to answer your particular money questions, first, watch my video on how to read your natal chart, right? It's actually a series, and I'll put the link to that series in the description box below. Secondly, consider scheduling a natal chart consultation with me. So my signature natal chart service, or my natal chart reading service, is known as the Blueprint. And you will get not only a 20+ page natal chart report based on your particular natal chart, which includes information about your career, money, relationships, all that good stuff. You also get a 60-minute consultation via Zoom with me, and we will go over the natal chart report from soup to nuts. You can ask whatever questions you want to ask. Plus, I pull some cards for some intuitive messages from spirit. Like, it's a whole vibe. It's a whole thing. So if you want to schedule that, that service is actually linked to this video. And you can also find that link in the description box below. All right, my loves, thank you so much for tuning in. Happy money making. Let's get out here. Let's figure ourselves out and really make some money in these streets. All right. So with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you in my next video. Take care.